You might think that a Sigma male doesn't need to network. After all, isn't he a lone wolf? But in fact, a Sigma wants to avoid total isolation because if he's completely alone, he has to do everything by himself. And it's difficult to compete against alphas who have large networks of talented connections. So in this video, we'll examine how a Sigma makes new acquaintances. Here are 11 ways to network like a Sigma male. Number 11. Sigmas use the principle of reciprocity. Many people don't know how to create business relationships. It's hard to understand if you don't know about the principle of reciprocity. In a nutshell, reciprocity means that if somebody does you a favor, you should provide an equal favor in return. For example, if somebody refers you a client, you should find a way to pay them back in some capacity. The principle of reciprocity is one of the founding stones of business. Sometimes you will do someone a favor, but nothing comes of it. It doesn't matter. Eventually, somebody will appreciate the gesture and repay your kindness. So, when networking, the Sigma doesn't expect anyone to connect with him for free. Rather, he figures out a way to be valuable and then waits to see who will reciprocate. Number 10. Sigmas care about quality, not quantity. When a Sigma networks, he looks for mutually beneficial win-win relationships. Therefore, he wants to network with people who have two main qualities. First, he wants to find people whose skill sets complement his own. Second, he looks for people who are trustworthy. But he also wants to avoid creating a huge amount of business connections, because then he would have to spend all his time and energy returning favors. So when a Sigma enters the world of networking, his goal is to form a few profitable relationships, and he only wants enough connections to meet his needs. He cares a lot more about quality than quantity. Number 9. Sigmas make the most of social media. If you open up Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter, you realize that lots of people use social media to gain approval. They're not making money off social media. They're not expanding their professional network. Rather, they create content so they can receive social approval and validation. Sigmas don't engage in this type of behavior. When a Sigma uses social media, he has a purpose, and often his purpose is to expand his network. It's one of the benefits of social media. If you have advanced knowledge of a topic, you can create social media posts or videos about your domain of expertise. And if your accounts gain some traction, you can expand your business network. In fact, if you get good at this process, you can make connections with important business leaders all over the world. Some Sigmas out there have created powerful global networks using nothing but social media. Number 8. Sigmas don't misrepresent themselves. Sigmas don't pretend to be something they're not. In other words, they don't make claims about themselves that are not true. He won't pretend to be your friend while having ulterior motives. He won't pretend to laugh at your jokes just so that you'd like him and become his business connection. No Sigma will ever suck up to people and flatter them just so he can profit off them in future. Instead, Sigmas are honest about who they are, and people can sense the authenticity, and they like it when you honestly express your beliefs, as long as you do it in an appropriate way. In comparison, Gamma males will often invent stories and accomplishments out of thin air. If somebody gives them some type of business opportunity, Gammas often screw it up because the relationship was built on lies. Number 7. Sigmas connect with friends of his friends. Because of his character traits, over time the Sigma naturally tends to attract a network of talented people. Plus, Sigmas normally have a good reputation. They are known to be intelligent, hardworking, and pleasant to work with. In other words, a Sigma knows people who are willing to vouch for him and introduce him to their connections. A good way to understand this process is to look at LinkedIn, the largest business networking platform on Earth. On LinkedIn, when you connect with somebody, they become your first-degree connection. But you also get access to all of their connections too, so-called second-degree connections. And LinkedIn even gives you third-degree connections. So when you connect with one person on LinkedIn, you actually get 3 layers of potential business contacts. And you can use this same attitude in everyday life. It's a common Sigma male strategy. When he wants to expand his network, he simply asks his network to make introductions. Number 6. He looks for people who share his values and interests. Sigmas dislike small talk because they are reserved men who don't enjoy shallow conversations. Unfortunately, when networking, he often finds himself in situations where he has to engage in small talk. He deals with these situations by networking with people who share his moral code. Think about it this way. If somebody is an atheist, socialist, vegan, they would prefer to network with people who share their beliefs. On the other hand, they might feel uncomfortable networking with right-wing conservative Christians. Similarly, a Sigma normally has quite a strong moral code that he's developed over the course of his life, so he prefers to network with people who share similar values. That way, it makes it much easier to spend time with these people and also reduces the chances of conflict arising in the future. Number 5. Sigmas use wit to connect with people. When it comes to speaking in social situations, Sigmas understand the importance of humor. But there are two main extremes that he wants to avoid. Firstly, he wants to avoid trying too hard to raise a laugh. He sees guys do this. Some men resort to very crass or stupid jokes just to make others laugh. But a Sigma has no interest in being a clown. But on the other hand, he also wants to avoid being stiff, boring, and humorless. And you get men like that. They are very serious, they never lighten up or joke around. And if you poke fun at them, they take it personally. If you listen to a Sigma male, you realize he relies mainly on his quick mind to make people laugh. He comes up with witty jokes or fast responses to things people say. He exploits his fast mind for the sake of humor. Number 4. He doesn't badmouth people. Sigmas always prefer to avoid gossiping or talking about people behind their backs, and unless it's relevant to his business interests, he doesn't even want to know bad things about other people. If he has to talk about somebody who isn't present, he prefers to focus on their positive traits. Understand that people don't trust you if you gossip a lot or slander people behind their backs, and if they don't trust you, they're not going to enter into a business relationship with you. Number 3. He doesn't talk about himself too much. In social settings, you sometimes come across people who only speak in monologues. Not all alpha males fall into this trap, but some of them do. Of course, Sigma males have no desire to dominate a conversation. They talk about themselves a little bit, but then they quickly shift the spotlight onto somebody else, never hogging the attention of the group. Therefore, Sigmas don't tell long, elaborate stories. Whereas you'll sometimes hear alpha or gamma males telling stories that might even stretch 20 minutes, expecting you to care about every twist and turn of their anecdotes. Telling personal stories helps you connect with other people, but you want to keep the story short and sweet and then move on fast. A Sigma will move the conversation from one person to the next, and because he poses thoughtful questions, he can often bring out the best of everybody who speaks. Number 2. Sigmas dissolve unprofitable relationships. A Sigma is a rational man. He doesn't let his better judgment get overwhelmed by emotions. So if a business relationship no longer serves his purposes, he has the confidence to dissolve the connection. Sigmas don't think there's anything wrong with ending these types of relationships. Many people make a big mistake when networking. They pretend to be genuine friends with their business associates, when in reality they have ulterior motives. From the Sigma perspective, you don't pretend to be something you're not. You don't act overly friendly with your business contacts. And you never give people the wrong impression about the relationship. Now, if you've enjoyed the video so far, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends so that we can keep making more videos for Sigmas. And if you've not done so already, please hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell. It really helps us to grow our community. And finally, number 1. Sigmas are the good type of quiet guy. Being silent isn't always a good thing. For example, some people have excessive amounts of social anxiety and so they feel very scared to speak in groups. You also get people who remain silent because they hate the other people in the room. There are also many reports of serial killers who are known as silent lone wolves. So it's not always a good thing to be silent. But Sigmas manage to be a good type of quiet personality. He isn't gloomy like the Gamma male. He isn't pessimistic like the Omega. The truth is that Sigmas are quiet men because they just refuse to enter certain types of conversations. Plus, he doesn't want to become overly familiar with people. He doesn't want to give anybody a false impression. But when the Sigma does finally open up, people feel quite lucky to gain some insight into how his mind operates. In any case, Sigmas are not excessively quiet. They do give their opinions, tell stories and make jokes, but they're the kind of men who choose their words carefully and always think before they speak. Very often, a Sigma will choose to keep his mouth shut. Hopefully this video gave you some insight into how to network like a Sigma. The most important thing is to not be a parasite. You want to step up and show people your skills. Do them favors and see who wants to connect.